course, right when I start filming, my phone dings. Hey, welcome back to my channel. So this was a video that you guys requested, how to find a surrogate or how to find your intended parents. So I'm gonna kind of try and do both in this video because I feel like they are sort of the same, and you do go and look for them like in the same areas, if that makes sense. So I thought I would just do one video on it and, you know, help either intended parents or surrogates look for their, I guess, kind of like partner or significant other, because it is a relationship that you have. It's not, you know, like a romantic relationship or anything, but you definitely do have a really strong relationship, or you should have a really strong relationship with your surrogate or intended parents. I know that this week I've been kind of off on my schedule, and I feel really bad about that because I'm totally somebody who's like not, you know, like a late person or anything. I just feel bad because I really want to stick to my schedule, but I'm gonna, you know, next week is a new week. So if you're not subscribed, you should definitely subscribe and follow me on Instagram and give this video a thumbs up if you like surrogate related videos, and I will definitely make more. But let me just stop rambling and get into the video. So the first thing I want to start out with is, this goes for intended parents and surrogates. The first thing you want to decide, do you want a surrogate or intended parents that are international, or do you want to find a surrogate or intended parents that are specifically from the US? Oh my god, now my battery's dead. Hold on a moment. Okay, I replaced my battery. Things should be happening. I don't really remember exactly where I was. So the first thing you want to decide is, do you want to find intended parents or a surrogate in the US or internationally? This, I think, should be your first kind of place to start, because it really does matter. First thing you should also do is get in touch with your agency or find an agency, and that's where you start looking through profiles of surrogates or intended parents, and you make a profile as a surrogate and an intended parent, and you kind of like put your ad out there that you're looking for a surrogate or intended parents. And what happens is the agency will send you a couple or one or two profiles of intended parents or surrogates. Usually I think it's one at a time, but it really depends on the agency. And you know, it doesn't say their last names. Usually it just says their first names, and sometimes there's pictures, sometimes there's not. And you know, it just gives like descriptions on what everybody's all about, what they're looking for. It doesn't usually say where they're from like specifically, but you know, location wise, if you're in the same state or whatever. If it's internationally, usually it does tell you where they are internationally, but you know, you don't get their address, is what I'm trying to say. So it's a very like brief profile that you kind of look over, and the agency is there to kind of do that relationship and start that conversation for you. That's like a really good way to find a surrogate, because that surrogate's also like pre-screened by the agency. The intended parents are also pre-screened by the agency. So you know that whoever you're looking at, it, you know, really qualifies for this journey, and you know, this is something they really want to do. So I, you know, think that that's a really good place for first time surrogates and intended parents to kind of start there at the agency kind of front. If I'm looking down, I have my notes again. I also would say, you know, take your time looking through these profiles. I know it's really easy to just be like, oh, you know, the first one, like, I'm gonna love them, like, I'm just gonna make that work. Not to say that like the first one, you know, if it does work, great. If it doesn't, you know, move on. But like, give yourself time to really make sure that these intended parents or intended parent or this surrogate, you know, is really going to be like what you want. And usually you have like a first conversation with either the surrogate or intended parent, and that's like usually a lot easier to decide, you know, is this going to be a good match. And I really like want to stress that if you feel at all like, you know, I'm not really sure, but you know, you really want that baby, you really want to be a surrogate, you know, and you're sort of like, well, I guess I could give this up, I guess I could give that up. Yes, you are going to have to compromise some things, but if you just have that gut feeling of like, I don't know, like, but I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to say, I'm sorry, you know, I don't think these are the right people, or I don't think she's the right surrogate. That's why the agency's there, because they can deal with that uncomfortable conversation or whatever, like, they can deal with that. So it's okay, like, if you don't, you know, like the first 3 that you see, like, it's fine. That's totally happened to a lot of surrogates, and it's normal, and it's totally happened to intended parents as well. Like, this is your journey, like, this is your time to be a surrogate, be a parent. You get to decide exactly who you want to help. Some agencies do actually allow you to come to them privately matched, so like either through Facebook or like word of mouth or like a family member. They do let you kind of come into them like already matched, and that's how I did it with my intended parents. And I actually didn't want to do that, but it ended up working out that my intended mom reached out to me on Facebook because I did sort of have like an ad on one of the Facebook groups saying that I was looking for intended parents that were in New England. So that's kind of roughly how we met. So we did have like a private match, but I do want to say that I was like pretty skeptical at first because, you know, like, she wasn't really screened, I wasn't screened, and it was a little bit up in the air until we like got with the agency. But some people do that, some agencies do that, you know, definitely something to ask. If you are looking to do that, you can cut costs that way, but you also, there's a little bit of a risk factor too. I think if I was gonna do this again, I think I would definitely start with the agency again, and if, you know, we didn't find a good match that way, maybe, you know, try and find something privately and come back to the agency. But, you know, it just, you just got to be careful. Like, people, you know, people can get crazy, essentially. But I don't want that to deter you, because it's a beautiful experience. So let's talk a little bit more about the Facebook part. So Facebook has, you know, these groups, and I'm sure that you're a part of some of them, and I'm a part of a lot of surrogate groups. And if you're not, you definitely should look into it. It's really good support. I'll link a lot of them down below. They're for surrogates, intended parents. There's pumping ones for surrogates. There's intended parents who's lost babies. There's international. There's US, like Chinese. There's a ton. Like, so definitely look into that, because it's a really great resource. But also, I want to stress, like, take your time here, you know, really figure out what you want. Put your little ad up there, put a picture, you know, of yourself, your spouse, whatever. And I highly recommend, you know, post like what you're looking for. If you're looking for a surrogate, if you're looking for intended parents, who you are, just like a brief thing, your rough location. Like, I wouldn't, you know, like, put your address. And when you'd like to start, you know, how many embryos you have if you're an intended parent, and how many you would like a surrogate to transfer. If you're a surrogate, how many you're willing to transfer. And, you know, just kind of like talk a little bit about yourself, you know, why you wanted to be a surrogate, you know, what made you turn to surrogacy as an intended parent. Do you have any other kids as an intended parent? You know, kind of just like a brief, like, what you're looking for type of ad, because it is an ad. This is like a business relationship in a way. The surrogate is doing a service for you, and the intended parents are, you know, relying on you to do this service for them. But there's also the love and connection part as well of surrogacy, which is a major, major part in the matching process. Patience is big, and you will totally find that match. Like, it is going to happen. It can take a while. That's another thing. So you could be matched in like a couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years. It can take a while. It really can. And it doesn't matter like really how you start it or what you do. sometimes it just takes a while, and that doesn't mean you're gonna have a bad experience or anything. It's just kind of the way surrogacy is. Rushing any part of the process is really just gonna make it worse, and you'll probably forget something or whatever, and it'll just kind of fizzle out. So take your time, find that really good match, or that's like your core, that's your foundation. You want your foundation really strong, then you can move forward and, you know, start building on top of that foundation. As I said before, you know, if you're a first-time surrogate or intended parent, you know, I would highly recommend going with an agency, which I've said a lot in my surrogate videos, just because they help screen everybody to make sure that everybody's qualified. If you don't go with an agency, if you go independently, the screening is still done. It's just done by the IVF clinic. So, you know, there's where people kind of cut costs. You kind of have to be okay with cutting that cost as an intended parent of that extra kind of screening for your surrogate, like mentally, physically, all that. Where I would say like the physical part is definitely more the IVF clinic, like definitely does that more than the agency. That's kind of, I feel like, all I really wanted to say about it, because there really isn't like too much about it. It's just, you know, take your time with the matching and figure out what you want as an intended parent or as a surrogate. I feel like as a surrogate, you really want to have that strong match. Like, picture, you know, what type of relationship you want with those intended parents. Do you want to talk to them every day? Do you want to talk to them once a week? Do you want them to come to all of the appointments? Do you only want to transfer 1 embryo, 2 embryos? As an intended parent, how many embryos do you have left? If you only have 1, or maybe you only have 2, maybe you only want to find a surrogate that can transfer 2 because you only have 2 and you can only afford to do 1 cycle. You know, like, so really figure out what you want. And I highly recommend, you know, not compromising too much. I feel like you'll definitely know in the process where you'll need to compromise. The agency can help you with that as well. If you are going independently, you know, definitely take your time. And I know I said that like a million times in this video, but it took me probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 months to actually like really match. But, you know, ultimately it took a little while. We weren't in any rush. You know, I still had, my youngest was still nursing, and, you know, I started looking or getting into it when he was about 4 months old, because it takes a while. So, and I told the intended parents, I'm not actually looking to do a transfer until like my youngest is a year. And so they were willing to wait until he was a year, and they did, and it was great. Like, it totally worked out. And I love that we, you know, put up kind of, this is what we want. Can you abide by this? If not, it's okay. Like, there's other people out there. So it can be daunting. It can be kind of something that you're just like, oh my God, like, I'll just pick that one right now. And I get that. Like, I was there. I understand how much you really want that baby, you really want that family, and you've waited for years and years and years as an intended parent, and that first surrogate that just like pops up, you know, can be like the absolute best in the whole world, and that's great, and I think you should go with that. But just make sure that it's the perfect match, because you don't want it to kind of come back at you during your process where maybe like you all of a sudden have a lot of things that you don't agree on, or you're just not really getting along, and because you're contracted with this person or this couple, you know, you have to stick with them, and so then, you know, the whole journey kind of becomes sour, and like, that's no fun for anybody. So that's why the matching, the foundation of surrogacy needs to be really, really strong. I hope that this video didn't sound, you know, too like upsetting or daunting, because it's not. Like, this should also be like a fun time for surrogate or intended parents. But if you are a surrogate or an intended parent, please comment below, because I love hearing your stories, or give this video a thumbs up, and I'll know that you're from the IVF, you know, clan. I want to like come up with like a name or something for like my subscribers. Like I feel like, you know, influencers kind of have like little names that they sort of give like their subscribers. So if somebody like thinks of this, if somebody thinks of one, like definitely comment below. Freaks or something. Hey, excuse my dog. But if you guys have any other questions about matching or any kind of surrogacy related questions, leave them in the comments. And if you have other videos that are related to surrogacy that you want to see, just comment below and I will definitely get those out for you. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.